All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church, building community, inspiring growth, creating change. Here in the heart of Kansas City, we come together to create this hour of shared reflection so that we might be renewed in courage for these times and inspired to lives of greater dignity, higher purpose, deeper generosity, and more effective action. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism or to our congregation, we want to get to know you and share a part of your journey. If this place is already your spiritual home, welcome once more. We need one another, and it is good to be together again. Through the gifts of technology, we also gather virtually to celebrate community and connections as we lean into the values of justice, compassion, and reason. Welcome to all those who are joining us in this way today. Together, we learn the love that has the power to overcome both loneliness in the heart and oppression in the world. Welcome to our service this morning. May the words and music and images that we offer today nourish our best selves, calling forth abundant wisdom and love.
Arise, O souls, arise.
Good morning. I'm Don Dickey, a member of All Souls, and some days too much enthusiasm can trip you up a bit. We are glad that you are here in person or joining us online. Now we have the pleasure of recognizing those visiting us for the first time. If you are a first-time visitor, please stand or raise your hand. Our ushers have a gift for you, so please wait to sit down or lower your hand until you receive your gift. You are welcome here with all of your identities you hold and in your fullness as a person. We hope that you will bring your whole self to this time together. Also, keep in mind, today is the big day. Following the service, our Reverend Kendyl Gibbons, who is up here dressed like a princess, and her husband Mark, who were high school sweethearts, will celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary. So stay and be part of the celebration.
Our opening words this morning are by Monica Jacobson Tennyson. What is it that calls you here, that calls you onward, that calls you inward, that leads you homeward? What is it that gives you the power to make that change, to ask that question, to take that journey? What is it that says, you have done well, that asks you to learn more, that brings you to stillness, that holds you up in hard times? It is relationship, the beating heart of our faith. It begins when we share this hour, our truths, this air, our hearts. Come, let us worship together.
Here today, in this place, with these people, may we listen so that we can hear. May we hear so that we can feel. May we feel so that we can know. And may we know so that we can change ourselves and this world. May this chalice we light our way. Please stand as you are able and join in the affirmation of our covenant. Then remain standing as we join together in song. Together we affirm, goodwill is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near.
So, I'm not sure that the children here have heard about coming of age and the Boston trip. So for our story today, I want to tell you a little bit about these programs. In many Unitarian Universalist churches that are for teenagers, coming of age is what we do for our young people, usually when they're in 8th or 9th grade, that marks their making a big step toward becoming adults. If you have friends who are Jewish, they will have a bat or bar mitzvah when they turn 13. If you have friends who are Christian, they might do something called confirmation. Unitarian Universalists have coming of age, where youth take classes that will help you to consider what it is that you believe. And then there's a special Sunday service when you will stand up at the pulpit and tell all of the grown-ups about your beliefs. It's called a credo statement. Credo is Latin for I believe. 7 teenagers here at All Souls will share their credo statements at a service in October. And I hope all the grown-ups will come listen to them. Now, as a part of this coming of age program, our teenagers went to Boston, Massachusetts last month, and I went with them. Boston is on the east coast of the United States, 1,400 miles away. So we took a plane to get there. The reason we make trips to Boston is because part of our faith, American Unitarianism, began there in the early 1800s. And the Unitarian Universalist Association headquarters, they're there too. And a whole bunch of Unitarian Universalist churches, and some of them were part of how our faith started. So I hope, as you get older, that you will participate in coming of age and go to Boston when you're in 8th or 9th grade. Because it was amazing when I went in 8th grade. Because the church where I grew up did these things too. And I have to tell you that when I went in 1995, which was 28 years ago, it was with a group of 30 teenagers and 6 adults. It was a notably large group. Like the teenagers here at All Souls, I went on a whale watch boat ride and to the aquarium. I saw Boston Common and I went to the beach. I went to a Unitarian Universalist church service and toured churches. I rode the subway. And I remember visiting the historic UUA headquarters. But you know what? While I knew I was supposed to learn about history and Unitarian Universalism when I was there, which I'm pretty sure I did on some level, what I remember now is the friends I made. I remember hanging out and trying to play hacky sack and throwing spaghetti at the wall to see if it would stick. Because really, the important thing to learn in Boston about our faith is that relationships and community are important. Friends are important. Church reminds us that we're not alone. And I really do hope that you'll go to Boston with other All Soul kids in a few years too. And I wonder what you'll remember and what you'll learn. Let us sing our children to their classes. The coming of age youth and high school youth are invited to stay for the service.
Go now in peace, may love guide all your ways. Beauty be the blessing of your nights and days. Truth on your lips and kindness in your deeds. Faith to follow where the human spirit leads.
Good morning. I'm Russ Feldhausen, and it is my pleasure to serve on the All Souls Board of Trustees. I come to you today in a time of liminal change, as quoted by Reverend Dittmar when she was here. It's a bridge between the familiar of today and the unknown of tomorrow. And it seems like during my tenure on the board, we've always been under change. But there is a lot of change going on. We were just hearing about our youth program and their trip to Boston, and their transitioning into young adulthood. At the same time in the church, we have lots of new programs that are trying to build new social and spiritual connections among the congregation. So our offering today really is beyond our monetary value. It symbolizes our commitment to the future and the transformative power of that love and guidance during changing times. So I encourage you to give today. I encourage you to update your pledge and make sure that you are making payments on your pledge and finding ways to volunteer in the church community within your means. While I can't give you a coffee mug for updating your pledge, I can guarantee there's a hot mug of coffee here every Sunday. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Please join me in the dedication of the offering. We dedicate our offerings and our actions to the mission at the heart of this congregation, to build a respectful, caring community, to inspire personal and spiritual growth, and to create change toward a just and compassionate society. Thank you.
Okay, here's a piece by William Ellery Channing. The great end in religious instruction is not to stamp our minds upon the young, but to stir up their own. Not to make them see with our eyes, but to look inquiringly and steadily with their own. Not to give them a definite amount of knowledge, but to inspire a fervent love of truth. Not to form an outward regularity, but to touch inward springs. Not to bind them with their ineradicable prejudices, but our particular sect or particular notions, but to prepare them for impartial, conscientious judging of whatever subjects may be offered to their decision. Not to burden the memory, but to quicken and strengthen the power of thought. Not to impose religion upon them in the form of arbitrary rules, but to awaken the conscience, the moral discernment.
This is an excerpt from Robert Fulghum's All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. All I really need to know about how to live and what to do, and how to be, I learned in kindergarten. Wisdom was not at the top of the graduate school mountain, but there in the sand pile at Sunday school. These are the things I learned. Share everything. Play fair. Don't hit people. Put things back where you found them. Clean up your own mess. Don't take things that aren't yours. Say you're sorry when you hurt somebody. Wash your hands before you eat. Flush. Warm cookies and cold milk are good for you. Live a balanced life. Learn some and think some, and draw and paint and sing and dance and play and work every day some. Take a nap every afternoon. Don't we wish? When you go out into the world, watch out for traffic. Hold hands and stick together. Be aware of wonder. Remember the little seed in the styrofoam cup. The roots go down and the plant goes up, and nobody really knows how or why, but we're all like that. Goldfish and hamsters and white mice and even the little seed in the styrofoam cup, they all die. So do we. And then remember the Dick and Jane books, and the first word you learned, the biggest word of all, look. Everything you need to know is in there somewhere. The golden rule and love and basic sanitation. Ecology and politics and equality and sane living. Take any of those items and extrapolate it into sophisticated adult terms and apply it to your family life or your work or your government or your world. And it holds true and clear and firm. Think what a better world it would be if the whole world had cookies and milk about 3 o'clock every afternoon and lay down with their blankies for a nap. or if all governments had a basic policy to always put things back where they found them and to clean up their own mess. And it is still true, no matter how old you are, that when you go out into the world, it is best to hold hands and stick together.
Tell everybody I'm on my way. New friends and new places to see. With blue skies ahead, yes, I'm on my way. And there's nowhere else that I'd rather be. Tell everybody I'm on my way. And I'm loving every step I take. With the sun beating down, yes, I'm on my way. And I can't keep the smile off my face. 'Cause there's nothing like seeing each other again, no matter the distance between. And the stories that we tell you make you smile. Oh, it really lifts my heart. So tell them all I'm on my way. New friends and new places to see. And to sleep under the stars, who could ask for more? With the moon keeping watch over me. Not the snow, not the rain can change my mind. The sun will come out, wait and see. And the feeling of the wind will lift your heart. Oh, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. Tell everybody I'm on my way. And I just can't wait to be there. With the blue skies ahead, yes, I'm on my way. And there's nothing but good times to share. Tell everybody I'm on my way. And I just can't wait to be home. With the sun beating down, yes, I'm on my way. And there's nothing but good times to show. I'm on my way. Yes, I'm on my way.
On July 20th, 2023, an intrepid group of 7 teenagers and 3 adults from All Souls went forward on their 6-day journey of exploration. Their destination, Boston. The point of the trip was for the youth to make a tangible connection to our larger faith and its history. As is so often the case for us adults, I found myself learning from them. So I asked their permission to preach this sermon. Boston group members here this morning know that I have done my best to try not to embarrass you in this sermon. Please forgive me should I accidentally share something you would have preferred I didn't. I think we're safe. To emulate the sage author Robert Fulghum, wait, that's right, he's a Unitarian Universalist minister, youth, I believe we have a chant, one of us, one of us. To emulate Robert Fulghum, these are the things I learned. Laugh. Bury your friends in the sand. Ask for what you want. Find the positive in everything and everyone. Sometimes you have to run. Have hope that it will work out. Feel the freedom of the wind on your face. Dream up plans even if they're unlikely to happen. Revel in new experiences. Giggle. Know that your thoughts and your voice are important in our faith. I went into this trip with a lot of nostalgia. And I apologize to the youth how many times they said, but when I was here in 1995, because I made the trip to Boston as a 13-year-old, just starting to feel her own power. And in some ways, I wanted to see the world through her eyes again. In truth, I recognized next to nothing from 1995. There's a whole new hostel. It has air conditioning. I don't remember which T stations we used back then. Even Boston Common looked different, viewing it as an adult and constantly referencing Google Maps to make sure that we were headed in the right direction. I was suddenly the one with the plan and the tickets and the responsibility. So my experience as an adult bore no relationship to what it was like as a teenager. But what I saw in the youth's eyes, the joy and the fun and the way they connected to one another, that felt oh so familiar. At this time, I was on the outside, looking in. Laugh. The better the youth got to know one another and feel comfortable with each other, the more they laughed. When do we stop laughing with abandon? It seems that we allow the sense of importance to get in the way of experiencing mirth. Or are we less open to forming the relationships that leave room for being silly and laughing for any or no reason? Bury your friends in the sand. One youth convinced the other to bury her. And after she got up, another youth wanted to be buried. And then another, and it's possible that most, if not all of them, were buried in the sand at some point. Each time, the group as a whole welcomed the labor of moving all of that sand once again. I think they recognized the joy in the experience of being buried, and they wanted to make sure that everyone could experience it if they wanted to. That's how we make room for one another's experiences and the negotiation of who buries whom and when. That's cooperation and consent. Some of the youth had never been to the beach before, and I could see that this shared experience of the cold New England waves and the sand, all filled with camaraderie and laughter, that was when the group truly came together and bonded. As adults, we need to find these things, these silly activities that naturally help us build community and deepen trust. Do we really need to go to workshops and be instructed to do trust exercises together? We have somehow lost that natural impulse to engage in the silly together, being with one another with abandon. Let's find that for ourselves again, because we're missing out. Find the positive in everything and everyone. When I gave the youth a list of activities we might do to then have them vote for their favorites, because we believe in the democratic process, there was a lot of interest in a haunted Boston history tour. So I booked it, and it was terrible. There was a lot more history than ghost stories, and even the history was not necessarily factual. The guide, Vlad, had emigrated from Russia 8 years ago, and his English was challenging to follow. Stories didn't reach conclusions, and it was easy to get lost in convoluted logic. I'm kind of amazed that only 2 out of the group of 25 participants ditched before it was over. Our youth, however, found so much empathy for Vlad. They learned that he was trying to be an actor and was going to be in some Marvel thing that's coming up. And so they asserted that when his stories had fallen flat, he'd really done his best to get into the spirit of the story. Where I saw a terrible tour guide, they sought out the heart of a person. Have hope it will work out. Our last full day, our schedule was tight. There was a tour, and then we had to get lunch in less than an hour and a half, while also getting to another part of Boston so that we wouldn't miss the hourly commuter train to Concord. I'd planned every minute necessary that we needed to make it to Concord in time to walk 1.5 miles to the Louisa May Alcott Orchard House for our timed entry tour tickets. We missed the train. I admit that I was thrown for a loop and was pretty upset. I don't respond well to plans going awry. And I struggled to believe that our tickets to the Louisa May Alcott House would be honored at a later time. The youth, though, even facing a 45-minute train ride each direction and an extra 3 miles total walking, still wanted to try. They wanted to at least see the house, and they had hope that we would still get the tour. And despite my myriad worries and continued stress, they were right. The tour was great, and we enjoyed Concord, where we even walked past Emerson's house and had views of Walden Pond from the train. And I'm going to skip over some of the statements in my original list because of time. But feel free to ask me or the youth about those learnings. Now, I do still need to tell you how important it is to know that your thoughts and your voice are important in our faith. When we toured the Arlington Street Church, where William Ellery Channing was the minister at the time that he preached a very important sermon in 1819 called Unitarian Christianity. Anyway, when we toured that church, the music director, Mark David, was our guide. And yes, he demonstrated the organ and let the youth literally pull out all the stops. We also played the Ode to Joy on the church bells for all of Boston Common. But he also took the time to tell the youth that when they share their credo statements with the congregation, everyone actively wants to hear what they have to say. Because their voices are important. We want to hear what they think and believe and how they make sense of the world And this lesson is one that I want you to hear about Unitarian Universalism. We do this thing of making meaning and considering the hard questions and how to understand the hard realities of life. We do this together. Your beliefs matter. Your voice is important, and it is true whether you are 13 or 93. We are not on our own to determine what is true and right in life. We learn from each other. I learned from the youth. You will learn from them in October when they speak to you in this room. This is our faith. And Mark David at Arlington Street also invited the group into the pulpit area. It's really tall. And they read this morning's reading from William Ellery Channing together. The great end in religious instruction is not to stamp our minds upon the young, but to stir up their own. An early American Unitarian espousing the same basis of religious education we still use, that we encourage in coming of age. Because we want to help our young people to find their own way, to be able to make their own decisions about ethics and morality. We want to give them space to explore who they are and to form meaningful relationships. We want to empower them. And in Boston, I heard interest from members of the group in claiming some power here. Interest in becoming leaders. Man, I want to find ways to make that possible. When I was a teenager in the Unitarian Universalist Church in Rockford, Illinois, it was the latter half of the 1990s. And I remember being about 11 years old and attending the coming of age service where the 8th graders presented their credo statements. And I was amazed by their courage and couldn't wait to be old enough to go through the same process. And as I went to Boston and completed coming of age, I saw the high school youth in their room filled with couches, shag carpeting, with a wall painted by them bit by bit over the years. I'm not saying I loved the shag carpeting, but it was a thing. I couldn't wait to be old enough to be one of them. I was excited not only to be in the youth group, but to participate in youth worship and attend youth conferences. Because youth, we created our own kind of worship in circles, singing chants, sharing with one another deeply. And year by year, the older youth taught the younger youth the traditions, handing down our own special ways, making them even more special. And once a year, the high school youth were in charge of a Sunday morning service, choosing all of the liturgical elements, and a few would even preach reflections. Because our voices and our ways mattered. We spoke up at congregational meetings. We planned our youth conferences. I was registration for a youth conference that's had 320 youth. And we did all of this with only some assistance from our adult advisors. Because we empowered one another, year after year, youth generation after generation. And I don't know the history of youth groups here at All Souls. I want to imagine that they were as fulfilling and robust as mine was. The youth knew how to lead their own worship, and they attended conferences with other churches in the district, and they planned them, and they were empowered. But the UUA stopped supporting conferences in 2008. So youth in different congregations stopped regularly gathering, and the conference traditions stopped being passed on. And the same things has happened in congregations as the group size has shrunk. There stopped always being older youth to teach the younger ones how to worship and be a youth group. And if the younger ones don't learn, they can't teach the next generation. And now, without a youth group for middle schoolers to be excited to join and learn the ways, most of them stop coming to church after coming of age. So for I don't know how many years, there hasn't really been a youth group. Now, I am thankful for Bob Miller and Jason Lichten, because one of them has been in the room every single Sunday this year with a curriculum in hand, just in case one or two youth actually show up. An amazing group of teenagers just got back from Boston. I want to help them form a real youth group. I want them to be empowered in this congregation. I want you to hear their voices, and not just when they read their credo statements. I want you to know them and learn from them and be inspired by them. And I don't want you to think of them as free labor to do uninteresting, menial tasks. Because they don't want to do uninteresting, menial tasks. They're overdoing dishes. Because they want to be seen as individuals, as worthwhile members of this congregation. And I want them to know how we did youth worship 20 years ago. And I want them to find their own ways that speak not to those of us who are now middle-aged, but to them. And this day and this time, they can start new traditions. They can be leaders here. I need your help. Melanie and I can't do this, just the two of us. We need you downstairs. We need you on the religious education team to plan and plot and come up with things to try. We need you to create a team of at least 5 youth advisors so that the youth get to know you and that you can be touched by how caring and how thoughtful and brilliant they are. We need you with the middle schoolers to guide them through coming of age and Boston trips. We need you in the children's classrooms because those young children are learning to be the older children who are learning to be youth, who are becoming adults. One age feeds into the next, and only by actively supporting all ages in our religious education program can we sustain a youth group. Now, don't get involved because you want these youth to become pledging adult members of the congregation. Yes, they could be the future of our faith, but they're amazing youth right now. They need your love and your guidance and your wisdom for who they currently are, not who you hope that they might someday be. They need to be included and empowered for this moment because they already have worth and dignity. They are already here and have so much to offer. The youth who went to Boston formed close, meaningful relationships with one another. They discovered how it feels to be safe in a group of friends. Whether it was out of nostalgia or hope that youth worship will flourish again, that doesn't matter. But I taught them some of the songs I sang with my youth group and at youth conferences. And this one is probably my favorite. And we sang it our last night in Boston. And I sing this for all of you. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me a treasure. I love you so. Please stand in body or spirit to sing to one another, dear friends.
Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me a treasure. I love you so. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me a treasure. I love you so. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me a treasure. I love you so. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me a treasure. I love you so.
We release this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. These closing words were written by Jean M. Olson. May you be brave enough to expose your aching woundedness and reveal your vulnerability. May you speak your deepest truths, knowing that they will change as you do. May you sing the music within you, composing your own melody, playing your own song with all your heart. May you draw, paint, sculpt, and sew, showing the world your vision. May you write letters, poetry, biography, slogans, graffiti, the great novel, laying bare your words to love and hate. May you love, even though your heart breaks again and again. And until the end of your days, may your life be filled with possibilities and courage. Amen.
Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me a treasure. I love you so. Oh, did Gigi get the game? Yeah.